When it comes to serving individuals with disabilities and their families, it's important to not lose sight on the thing you're actually setting out to do, serving the person. Sure, there are the logistical pieces that you need to put in place to make sure your respite night is successful or to make sure your buddy program is thriving on Sunday mornings. But when you get right down to it, all you're doing is making sure that you're setting the stage well enough to give you the opportunity to serve the individual and to serve them well. And that all starts with building a relationship. Building relationships is key to serving those with disabilities, and we don't need to look any further than to Jesus and the life he led on earth to figure out the best way to go about doing that. Jesus wasn't just a man for the people, but he was a man with the people. He continually went into the margins, sat down with the woman at the well, immersed himself with the crowd and with those who others set aside to see eye to eye with people. He's a Jesus who goes into the margins to be with his people. It was always about more than service with him. It was authentic relationship. So how do we do that? How do we build authentic relationship with our brothers and sisters with disabilities? When we are approaching that new member with disabilities at our church, we start by seeing the person first. They're not just another child who we need to program for in our Sunday school classroom because they may need some extra supports, or an adult who we're going to shuffle into our disability ministry, but a person seeking relationship like everyone else. Seeing the whole person first, welcoming them with open arms, finding out what their likes and interests are, and finding things that you can personally connect with them about. That's how building relationships starts. It's about erasing the idea in our head about service provider and service recipient and just seeing ourselves as people. Two people who both equally reflect the image of God, who both belong to each other as brothers and sisters in Christ, and who both are made for relationship. Remove that barrier, and the rest is familiar territory. It's connecting relationally with another person, spending time in communion with someone else. Just like your family and the social circles you keep, the ways that we build these relationships can sometimes look different. We all have the friend who is quieter and likes to do more listening than talking. We all have the friend who is the exact opposite, who talks a lot. And if you can't think of who that person is in your friend circle, that means you're likely that person. The same goes when we're building relationships with people with disabilities. We may have an individual at our church who uses alternate modes of communication. Maybe doesn't speak with their mouth, but utilizes nods or hand gestures or eye gazing. My goal is still to build rapport and build relationship. That's the exact place I want to start and end. It may just mean that I'll be carrying more of the conversation, or I may be changing up my dialogue slightly to provide more opportunities for yes or no responses. I'm still there and in it in the conversation, still very present, still asking about your day, making eye contact and connection, telling a joke here or there. These are the things that you do when you're trying to build relationships with the person, and the foundation of that, of building connection, of being intentional, of being relational, that all remains the same. We're all made in the image of God, all made with our own strengths and needs. Someone communicating in a different way, or thinking about things in a different way, or understanding things in a different way. Those don't equate to barriers to build a relationship with that person. There's still plenty of relationship to be had. A friend of mine has cerebral palsy, and his expressive language can be tough to understand. What isn't difficult to understand is his love of sports, however. So by establishing context and picking up on some key words that I hear him say about his favorite team or about the game last night, I might not be receiving every word he is saying, but understanding the context has helped me pick up on part of it, and it gives me some good questions to throw back at him to gain further context and to understand him even more, to get to know him even more and understand him even better. I now know my friend better through growing and understanding him, knowing what interests him, celebrating with him, and so much more as I've pursued relationship with him, with the person that he so distinctly is. No matter who comes through my church doors, I'm not going to know the best way to serve them until I get to know them. And just like anyone else who enters through those doors, the best way to get to know them is to sit with them, to talk with them, to show them authentic care and attention, and engage with them on a personal level. These Guidelight training videos do an excellent job breaking down the most common disabilities you'll see in your churches, talking about the best practices when ministering to people with disabilities, and getting into specific strategies to use in your Sunday school classrooms or church hallways. Those are all very important. That said, it's equally important to remember that everything starts with relationship, to recognize the person in front of you as someone fearfully and wonderfully made by God, just like you, recognize the mutuality of this, what they have to offer you as well, and taking the steps to make a personal connection. This is how we love and serve like Jesus, and this is how we grow a thriving disability ministry.